constitutional mandates. I've heard a lot of my colleagues say that the president came to lament, and I think that even if the president came to lament, he only came to continue the lamentation of the previous government, where we had their own MPs in this chamber organizing a press conference to call on the president to sack their finance minister because of the state of the nation that they were in and what they envisaged. It was not just the members of parliament who were lamenting. The people of Ghana, in their lamentation, gave them the worst result in any election in the history of the Fourth Republic. And so the president could only join in what everybody was saying. During the president's address, there were two takeaways that I would focus on, and that's the 24-hour economy and Nkoko Nkete. Mr. Speaker, I've heard a lot of my colleagues say that how are we going to create jobs through 24 hours and Nkoko Nkete. In fact, it was on the day of the Sona that I even realized that 24 hours and Nkoko Nkete. You can't hear, please pay attention. I'm teaching you Agric. I'm going to teach you Agric, and I will beg you to please listen carefully. It was on that day that the president told us that 55,000 homes were going to benefit from Nkoko Nkete. Mr. Speaker, Ghana imports about $300 million of poultry every year. Our national demand is about 400,000 metric tons every year. In fact, we produce only about 57,000 tons a year. Importation is about 270,000 metric tons a year. And the president, in his wisdom, has noticed that if 100 districts put together 500 beds for 5,000 homes, we will be making about 55,000 homes, raising 500 beds, a total of about 27,000 beds per cycle. And when I say cycle, I mean when you are raising broilers, from day old, that's what we call DOCs, to week 7, you complete one cycle. And so the president came and told us that in a cycle, 55,000 homes can raise 500 beds each. Mr. Speaker, this will help reduce dependency on importation. It will strengthen our food security. It will create opportunities. It will create jobs. And it will help the youth enter into agriculture. Mr. Speaker, how will this work? And how are we going to make money from Nkoko Nkete? How will this work, and how are we going to make money from Nkoko Nkete? It costs about 71 cedis to raise a bed from day 1 to 3 kilos. To raise a bed to 3 kilos, you need to give it about 4.5 kilos of feed. Every 1 kilo of feed it eats again, 1.5 kilo of feed it eats against about 1 kilo weight. And therefore, before it gets to 3 kilos, you have to feed it with about 4.5 kilos of feed. This means that we have to produce a lot of maize to feed these birds, because in every kilo of feed that you feed a bird, about 60% is made up of maize, which is up to about 2.7 kilos of every 4.5 kilos of feed that you give to one bird. And so our poultry farmers, our maize farmers, this is good news that the president has given to us. According to the president, we are going to grow a lot of maize, to feed a lot of birds. Mr. Speaker, apart from maize that we are going to grow to feed birds, we are also going to make a lot of manure. Ghana imports so much fertilizer. In 2023 alone, we imported over $200 million worth of fertilizer. And therefore, under the Nkokon Ketinketi program, we are going to get a lot of manure. In fact, every bed, and these ones are fact, every bed that you raise at 3 kilos produces about between 2 to 4 kilos of droppings in a lifetime. And this is what we call fresh manure. And when I say fresh manure, I'm talking about 70% water and 75% water, 25% dry manure. And so, under this program, in Nkokon Ketinketi, we are going to be able to produce manure here in Ghana, locally. If you, Mr. Speaker, I can go on and give you how much residue you make per acre when you grow maize and mix it with the chicken intestines and all to give you a certain tonnage of fertilizer every year. And this is what the president is telling us that we are going to do. Apart from that, the president is looking at putting money directly in the pockets of every household through this program. When you raise a bird, we sell it at what is called carcass weight. Carcass weight is 2.5 kilos per broiler. The weight is 3 kilos, but when you remove the feathers and the intestine and all of that, it will be left with what we call carcass weight. At a carcass weight of about 3 kilos, you can sell it for 90 Ghana cedis. When you subtract the 71 cedis needed to raise the bed, it will be left with about 19 Ghana cedis. Multiply by 500 beds every year. Every household under this program will be making about 9,500 every 7 to 8 weeks. This is putting direct money in the pockets of the people who voted this government to power. Apart from that, to be able to feed, apart from that, if every household employs 2 people to take care of 500 beds per cycle, what it means is that directly we are employing 110,000 people in 100 districts under this program. This does not include the retailers, the wholesalers, and many others. In fact, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Member, just wind up.
Mr. Speaker, chicken feet, akoko 9, chicken feet is a huge delicacy in China. Akoko 9. In 2023 alone, China imported over $5 billion worth of chicken feet. And so no part of the chicken goes waste. And this is what was known as the cottage industry. Giving households beds, giving them medication, giving them feed, letting them raise the bed and buy them back from the farmers for slaughter. Mr. Speaker, we will need feed mills. We will need processing plants. We will need fertilizer processing plants. And all of these will go a long way to employ a lot of young people.
Thank you.
Akoko Nketenkete, the 24-hour national broiler project is a brilliant idea by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Let him now turn to Swami.
On our mandate and telling us about the state of Ghana today. And I will just limit myself to some of the comments made by my very good friend, the former Minister for Roads and Highways. Mr. Speaker, if I hear him well, he agrees with President Mahama as to why we should invest in roads. President Mahama's comment about the debt is such that if the over 700 billion debt we have, the component that was used on roads actually amounted to roads in our neighborhoods, nobody will comment. The difference here is that whilst your government in 2017 lamented about road sector debt or commitment of 17 billion, today, and then in fact, out of that, we can show you interchanges in Accra and elsewhere. Today, you are leaving us a commitment of over 105 billion and very little to show for it. That is the difference. Two, you complained about certificate unpaid 3.5 billion when you saw a road project completed. Yet today, you are leaving us with a debt unpaid of over 20 billion Ghana cedi. Where is the 20 billion cedis worth of roads?
Honorable Minister for Road, let me recognize Honorable former Minister for Roads and Highways.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm on my feet on point of information. The Honorable Roads Minister is saying that we showed very little for the spending that we made in the road sector. Mr. Speaker, in terms of interchange alone, whilst in 8 years, it's not for you to decide. It's not for you to decide. Sit down for him to decide. Are you the Speaker? Are you the Speaker? You are not the Speaker.
Honorable members, order.
The Speaker.
Honorable member, does he need the information from you?
Yes, I think the nation and the House needs this information. You are not the Speaker. Kwame, you are not the Speaker.
Honorable former Minister for Roads and Highways, candidate, resume your seat. Honorable Minister for Roads and Highways, you have the floor. Honorable former Minister, off your microphone.
Mr. Speaker, it is very surprising sometimes when they talk. Pokwas interchange, which was approved in this House, financing everything secured. They wake up and say that it's a project that should be attributed to them. But Mr. Speaker, the point I'm making is that if the 20 billion we are saddled with today was equated to road projects in our communities, we wouldn't have had a situation where for the first day, 12 of our colleagues from the other side will be asking me questions as to when roads in their communities will be constructed. Mr. Speaker, two, the President also talked, Mr. Speaker, let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, President Akufo-Addo, I was here, Mr. Speaker, I was in this chamber on the other side when President Akufo-Addo stood here and said, and then was doing like this, we built 10,800 kilometers of new roads. Mr. Speaker, I was courageous enough to, yes, he said it, 10,800 kilometers of new roads. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I was courageous enough to take him on. The ministry, in fact, my current PRO of the ministry, who is a good friend of mine, issued a statement against me today. Later, they rationalized and said that the 10,800 kilometers, including pothole patching and other things. Today, my colleague from Walewale stood and then made the same statement that they built 13,000 kilometers of road. Now he's rationalizing it and say that it includes grading and regraveling. Now, at least he's been at the ministry. He knows that that level of presentation or misrepresentation by his government was needless, because we never report road conditions like that. We never report and say that I built this, we say that feeder road, trunk road, this is what we did. My brother, look, you are going to spend you are going to spend 4 years in opposition. You have enough time to talk. Don't worry about that. Mr. Speaker,
we listen to you in silence, so
Mr.
have
Speaker,
the courtesy to listen to others similarly.
Under my colleagues' stewardship, almost 100% of the project awarded were sole sourced. Oh, he said sole source. This government have even set up Ministry of Procurement to say that they will not do that. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you on record, part of the reason we are saddled with over 105 billion is that they were just throwing contracts here and there without any proper planning. Without any proper planning. Today, Mr. Speaker, we are committed that we would improve the level by which we prepare projects for awards. So if you want to know, the difference here is that we are not in a rush to do the wrong things. President Mahama admits and acknowledges the importance of roads. You don't. You thought roads were about politics. That is why from July last year to December, check your record what you did at that ministry. You were just awarding projects. Even some of them don't even have contracts. Mr. Speaker, I am now saddled with people walking to me that I've been asked to go on this road and start a project. I want you to ratify it. And I said that I will not do that yet. Mr. Speaker, I tell them I will not do that yet. I have asked people to go to site and start work without any contract. Mr. Speaker, the sad, Mr. Speaker, I think my former respected colleague, my former respected minister, just left the ministry. What he did is on record there. He should not get too much agitated. More will come out. Your record at the ministry, in terms of how you manage the ministry, to the extent that, are you happy to leave me a burden of 105 billion Ghana cedi debt? And then you tell me, how was it possible? How was it possible? Listen. Honorable
Asensu Boachi, your conduct is becoming disorderly. Please.
Mr. Speaker, I have enough time to bring the details of the challenges we have on the road sector. It is for no reason that even on Friday, I'll be here answering questions about roads. And my former colleague, Honorable Amakwata, to be honest, did very well. And I hope I will be able to relate that in terms of commitment to answering questions. I hope you did as much as that when you took over. No, because you see, Mr. Speaker, when my colleague, when my colleague was speaking, he said many things I disagreed with. I wasn't sitting in my chair ranting. Let me just tell him, I tell no lie about the road sector. And let me tell him that he served at the ministry before I went there. But I am more detailed and in-depth with that ministry more than him. Even after he said, I will never come here. Yes, I will never come here and make any false statement. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members,
I am saying that he said,
Honorable Minister for Roads, the aspect of you having more in-depth knowledge about roads than him, I will order that be expunged from the records. You have the floor.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, kindly resume your seats. Honorable members, kindly resume your seats. Honorable Stephen Amwa, your conduct is disorderly. Your conduct is very disorderly.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minority Whip, I will recognize you if it is not in respect of what I asked that it be expunged. But if it is in respect of what I directed to be expunged from the record, then I will rule you out of order.
Speaker, I will not challenge your powers to rule me out of order. I mean, in this House, the interpretation of the rules is in your bosom. I'm only seeking to help the House and your good self for us to navigate in peace and in proper conduct. Speaker, we in leadership have an inherent responsibility to help you steer affairs and guide the House. Speaker, at this point, I think my colleague, the Honorable Minister, the former ministers and former Minister for Roads and the current minister should just take it cool. Some of the comments, and Speaker, you rightly said that it should be expunged. It's getting a bit personal. This is an intellectual exercise. Let's find a way of debating without going personal. Speaker, it's important we debate without going personal. So I just want to appeal to my colleague, the Honorable Minister. It should calm down, we should reduce the emotions, and have a good debate. Speaker, but let me commend you on your ruling that commentary should be expunged from the records. So, Honorable Minister, take it cool and make your point.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague. I hope when my colleague, the former minister, was feeling uneasy behind you, you should have told him that when he was speaking, I was quiet, though I didn't agree with everything. Mr. Speaker, in this House, when it comes to issues of law, I can easily defer to everybody who is a lawyer, because I'm not a lawyer. So if a lawyer, in fact, the minority leader often says, when it's about law, listen to me. And we do. I've served on the committee longer. All I'm saying is that I will not say he was making some comment. I said, I will not make any comment here which is personal to him. I'm speaking to fact. So my comment has nothing to do with him personal, that he's been a minister, he didn't understand. That is not what I meant. But if you say it should be expunged, I agree. But let me repeat that the comments I make here about the road sector, and then because he used the word that the president was not factual, I listened to all of it. Listen, Mr. Speaker, you see him still speaking when I'm speaking. Exactly which point did President Mahama make, which is not factual? Is it not a fact that you left 105 billion cedis worth of road project in this country? Is it not a fact that you left over 50 billion of roadworks undone? Is it not